shocking claims about hearing loss in the hunting fields with Bill Dickinson of Tetra Hearing right now. Hey, welcome in, Gun Talk Hunt fans. I hope you guys are well out there. Now, today, we are sponsored by some great folks. And I think it goes without saying, we love all our sponsors. But today's Gun Talk Hunt is brought to you by Timney Triggers, the world's finest triggers, Smith & Wesson, Tetra Hearing, Silencer Central, Silence Delivered, Remington Ammunition, and Lockdown. Secure your lifestyle. But we thank all of those folks. Today, special, because it is going to help you. And when it comes to hunting, we always like a little bit more. We like a little bit of help. And today's guest provides that. Bill Dickinson of Tetra Hearing. Welcome in, sir.
Hey, Jade, man, it's great to be back with you. It's good to see you, and I love being on the show. So you always keep it lively and you keep it going, man.
That's good, because today we've got a little bit of this action going. It's all about hearing protection and keeping those ears where you can hear. And so let's start. I think everybody who has listened to the show understands Tetra Hearing, but for the folks out there that don't understand or don't know what Tetra is all about, Bill, why don't you give us a little bit of insight on Tetra Hearing?
Well, man, I think our story is one of my absolute favorite, because you're the example of why we started the company. You live a big part of your life on the range. A lot of what this awesome show does is range focused, right? And it's pulling triggers and pointing downhill, whether it's short range, long range. And what's funny is that we've got 100% compliance of protecting the ears on the range. And it doesn't matter if it's backyard, if it's, I'm going to go warm up for teal season with my buddies, and we got 2 boxes of clays and a case of 8 load or 8 shot, right? And everyone seems to wear earplugs or foam plugs or ear muffs. When we know if it's about a target, we're super good about protecting the ear. And present company included is a little bit guilty, right?
All the time. And that's what a lot of us
chase squirrels. I'm sorry, dude, but if we're going to chase squirrels in early fall, or whether it's teal season or dove season, and we're getting ready for the big stuff that comes later in the fall, like all of a sudden we forget about our ears. And if it's hunting, there's no plug. Mm-hmm. If it's shooting, there's a plug. And man, that's what we're trying to change. It's really that mentality.
Yeah. And I think, and we touched on this last time, a lot of it is for these guys out there, they just don't have a good solution. And that's where you come into play. And that's where Tetra Hearing really comes into play, because I was in the same boat. I don't want to carry around earmuffs. I just don't. And then, and because this was part of a video that you actually shared with me, and it really is impactful, because I don't want to carry muffs around, because, even though they might amplify sound, you can't really tell where it's coming from. It is a good option for guys. If it's better than nothing. But then the plugs, like especially duck hunters, because we're getting into that duck season and goose season. Oh my gosh, the snow goose season is going to be on fire this year. I've heard numbers. It's going to be unreal this year, and guys are going to be out in the field constantly. At least the numbers I've been hearing. But plugs, you can't hear sound. I mean, you're completely immune to location of animals, location of geese coming in, or ducks, or the beat of a wing. And that's scary for guys. And so they would rather do without that and be able to have that hearing in the moment, rather than having the hearing later on in life.
Yeah. And Well, man, that's a whole nother session about boys living in the moment, right? About males living in the moment, and making decisions that if they could really think through it, they may not make the same damn decision.
Right.
But in all seriousness, what most hunters realize is that they are not doing something smart. That your ears and ultimately your brain can't take that much abuse. Trigger pull after trigger pull after trigger pull when you're out there having a ball doing your thing.
Right.
And they kind of realize that they're selling the farm, and that they're selling their futures. And honestly, that's where, we, David, my partner, and I, when we built Tetra, it was all about it's about making zero sacrifices.
Right.
It's about, let's create an awesome listening experience that's designed for a specific type of hunting pursuit, and take away all the excuses on why, guys and gals, weren't wearing any hearing protection. And so we try to make it literally zero sacrifices. And that's where we're kind of getting our rocket fuel from, is all the hunters are saying, like, man, there's no reason to not do it now. So, and
that's scary. And we talked a little bit on the last time we spoke. I'm trying to do a better job for my boys, and educating them properly, because the damage for me is done. Like, it stops now. And I, maybe I saved myself some years of hearing, but there were years and years that went by that I was the same way, because what happens in a duck blind or in a situation where, oh my gosh, the ducks are coming in, and you get that adrenaline rush, that adrenaline gets it going. It may not sound like it's a big deal at the moment. Like, your ears might ring a little bit, but it's after the fact where it really starts to come in play, is where you've got these 3.5-inch shell guns going off in your ears on each side of you, because we like to hunt in groups. When it comes to, goose hunting, if it comes to duck hunting, we like to hunt in groups. And so that's not one gun going off. That's like 8 or 9 guns going off.
There you go.
And that's,
you do the math on, you're hunting with 5, 6, 7, 8 guys.
Mm-hmm.
You got a 6 bird limit. It takes, let's be generous and say 3 shots.
Boxes of shells. Oh, sorry. I may have jumped the gun on that one, because it takes me a few more. So you're going to get a few extra shots if you're hunting with me. Or, man,
I was on 3 pretty good barrel burner dove hunts this year. And again, it shocks me when you got, we do like a big launch. And so there's probably 40, 50, 60 guys that are together, and everyone spreads out over, 5 or 6 fields. It absolutely shocks me how many young dudes are willing to go out there with nothing in their ear and shoot. And they got four boxes of shells with them. Right. And,
because on doves, like, it does take me probably that many to get a limit, scratch out a limit. I do have a kind of a testimony, I guess, about my dove hunt this year. So went out there, and I'm running these bad boys. I'm running your Alpha Shields, and oh my gosh, I'll tell you, there's a difference, because it shuts off the shot, but I can hear the birds coming from way further away. Yep. And that was really cool for me, because I was able to get on them quicker. And I think guys that actually run these would testify for the same thing. And that, to me, is a lot better, because it almost takes me back to my younger days when I could hear perfectly.
Or you hear that hollering across the field that maybe you would have missed, right? I mean, you hear the communication, but let alone all the fun. I mean, so you're probably a more skilled hunter, because you can hear them, and especially right now, that's what we get. It's so cool. Like, once the seasons start rolling, it doesn't matter if it's turkey or dove or duck. And I bet you this, this week we've already gotten 3 or 4 emails from teal hunters. Yeah. And they're like, man, I can hear the rockets again, right? Like, I can hear them like just ripping behind, and like, and so many of them end with like, I didn't realize how much I was missing. Yeah. And dude, you're a young guy. we've talked about this, but your ears are a lot older than what that body is of yours, right? I mean, you've been kind of hard on them, and all those high frequencies are what's gone. And and if we return that, you're a young stud again, right?
Yeah. Oh, well, I don't know about stud. My wife would differ. She said, wait a second, hold on. But we're gonna take a real quick break here to hear a word from our sponsors. But hang on with us, because I'm going to share a statistic that will absolutely blow you away. All right, we've all been there before. We're about ready to hit the field. We're about ready to go to the range, but we lack one key thing, and that is ammunition. Well, Brownells has you covered, because they've got what you need: 243 9mm 40 Smith & Wesson, 380. They've got 6.5 Grendel, 270 Wesson. Yeah, Winchester short mag. So if you need it, Brownells Ammunition has it. So get your ammo now at brownells.com/ammunition. They'll take care of you over there. Also, audiologists over at Tetra Hearing, and that's actually who we're talking to today. They've got you covered for your hearing protection. Their new Alpha Shields, which I'm running a set of customs because I've got tiny ear canals, and you know what? They fit 96% of people with their Alpha Shields, but I'm a little different, so I've got to go with the customs. But you go over to tetrahearing.com, enter the code GUNTALK at checkout, and you'll get 15% off. That's a steal. And since 1947, there's shooting and hunting have driven passion over at Hodgdon Gunpowder Company. So the Hodgdon Powder Company has been in business since 1947, and what they're doing over there is amazing things, because they provide reloaders with the right powder to, load all that ammunition that you're starting to. And if you're new or seasoned to reloading, you've got to go check out the Reloading Data Center. It's actually really easy to go do. You go to hodgdonreloading.com, and it'll walk you through what powders work with what cartridges, what bullets, all that good stuff. So, they've actually got a lot of powder that they offer that work for multiple calibers. So, if you're loading 9mm and 45 ammo, you might be able to get away with the same type of powder. So visit hodgdonreloading.com to find out more. And Lockdown. Okay, let's talk about Lockdown a little bit more, because our new line of Logic products are changing the way we start to look at safes and securing our lifestyles. That's what they're all about. Okay, so they've got a Lockdown Logic camera. They've got a Lockdown Logic puck. I take the puck with me into everywhere I go. It goes in my safe. It goes on the road with me, because I can tell if that case has been open. It'll alert me to humidity levels, temperature levels, to keep all my stuff safe. So go to lockdown.com and enter the code GUNTALK10 for 10% off anything site-wide. That's anything. That's dehumidifiers. That's the new Lockdown Logic vault door, so you can turn your closet into a vault. Yeah, you can do that all at lockdown.com. All right, we're back with Bill Dickinson of Tetra Hearing, and there is one very alarming statistic that I saw in this video that that Bill shared with me, and it was, correct me if I'm wrong. Actually, Bill, why don't you just go ahead and give the statistics, because I think a lot of guys out there are going to go, "You've got to be kidding me." Yeah.
Well, it's absolutely part of our Cold Hard Truth campaign that we just rolled out, and it's all centered around, the big statistic is that there's lots of evidence that we have 1 in 9 waterfowl hunters use any type of hearing protection, and that's science. That's not Life by Bill or Tetra.
Right.
Those are several audiological studies across the globe. Actually, there's been some Australia, Canada, US that show anywhere between an 82% up to 92% of waterfowl hunters do not report using any hearing protection while they're hunting.
That's frightening, because you hit on it in the first half of the show. You hit on it that those guys, when they're on the gun range, 9 out of 9 of them would be wearing hearing protection. So tell me how this does not translate to the field. Where are we? Where are our shortcomings? Because I think that's one thing that I really look at. Is it an inconvenience? Is it a fit? Because I mean, that's where I would see it coming in, but you guys might have better studies on that.
Well, it's not that we're a bunch of like knuckle dragging Neanderthals that like duck hunt, right? Like we know that we're not being smart about it. We just choose to give it up because, and man, you just hit two big things. I can't believe we never talked about that, Kevin, but fit and inconvenience are absolutely spot on. And I'll throw in, the other big thing is sound quality or your connection with your hunt, right? Yeah. For the waterfall hunter, it's really about being able to blow a call. And what's interesting is, you've seen the transition in the music world, right? I mean, when you were younger, certainly when I was younger, no musician wore anything in their ear, and it's because you couldn't perform on stage, you couldn't sing. Right. And what's kind of funny is that every musician has something in their ear now, and I think the general public believes that that's about hearing protection, and it's really not about hearing protection. It's about performance. And that what's called in the ear monitor is finely tuned to let that musician do what he or she has to do on stage, right? Okay. If you're the lead singer, it's programmed for exactly how you want it for each individual song. Actually, if you're a bass player, it's programmed for your role on stage. If you're the drummer, it's programmed completely different than the bass player or the fiddle player. You name backup singers. It's about performance. And what we did is we took that same philosophy. We've been fitting musicians here for the last 20 years in Nashville, right? It's a great place to figure out exactly what certain brains needed while they were performing. Okay. And man, that's us in the duck blind, right? When you're blowing a duck call and when you're there having fun and ripping on each other and who wants a biscuit? Like there's that when we say hear the hunt, it's about the whole experience.
It is. It really is. And that you hit on something that I think a lot of guys don't realize. Like if you're in, it's funny to like see the difference between like duck hunters and like whitetail hunters or I mean, I guess even to some extent, turkey hunters or elk hunters is when they blow those calls, they are loud. They are not trying to be soft. They're not trying to ease into this, man. When they go, it's loud because they've got that call has to carry. And when you've got a couple calls going off right by you, like that's where it becomes like, that's where some people don't even think about it being a problem. They think just gunshots. But those duck calls are loud, man.
Boy, you're spot on with that. And actually, for the waterfall hunter, I'm going to go a step further and say everything we do is loud, right? Like it's, everyone's running air-cooled engines now, whether it's a longtail or a mud motor or you talk about loud and ATVs and, we're cutting down trees before season with chainsaws. And it just seems like when we get our duck hat on,
it's all loud.
Everything we do is loud. And I say from the minute we're backing in the boat trailer, we're abusing our ears. And that's exactly what we're trying to get is this idea of like, it's super important for your listeners to realize that hearing loss is very, very predictable. And it's from noise. Hearing loss is very predictable from noise, what we call noise induced hearing loss. And it's a combination of time and intensity or duration and intensity, like how loud and how long. And if it's really, really loud, then like a gunshot, and then a short exposure of, 2 or 3 or 1 shot, can be as damaging as running a mud motor for 15 minutes. And they're equally the same. They're going to get you to the same bad spot. And if we can just get, the generations to teach younger generations that when you're around something loud, you got to be smart enough to protect your ears because once it's gone, it's gone.
And take out a little extra time. And I think that's where a lot of guys get into a hurry is because, when you head out early morning and you're trying to figure out like, what pattern your decoys need to be in. Does it need to be a V or a check or whatever it might be? Like, you are constantly, I've got a buddy who he probably changes his decoy setup at least 3 or 4 times during the hunt, just based on what the ducks are doing and how they're flying and how they're reacting. He'll take, 5, 10, 15, 20 minutes to change a whole spread, but he never puts in hearing protection. And it takes 5 seconds, and I think the inconvenience factor that we're dealing with today's hearing protection, especially Tetra, is that you're making it more convenient.
And that's where we've now won our 3rd award on that universal fit on the Alpha Shields. We still make a great custom product, and that's about 1/3 of our orders. But the new, there you go. That's the custom. Yeah. I think those ear canals of yours right now are about the same size as when the good Lord put you on this earth. You came out with.
I did.
I don't know if this part was that big, but your ear canals.
No, it wasn't. Grow. I don't know. My ears might have been the same size too. I had massive ears.
But our thing was with the Alpha Shields, with the universal fit, was to create a premium experience like you get with the custom fit. But yet, man, you could do a hearing test today, place your order. We could get it, as long as we get it by 5 o'clock, we're shipping it by 6 o'clock. You could have the devices in 2 days, custom program for your hearing, for your specific hunting pursuits that you want. And it fits like a custom. And I'm shocked as a hearing doc, dude. I'm telling you, I would have lost big time on this bet. We're now over 4,500 units in the field, and we're still sitting at over a 96% fit rate.
No kidding.
To say that 96 out of 100 ears can be fit with the same product, properly, and they can wear it, 6+ hours a day. Yeah. As an audiologist, I never would have believed that, 4 years ago before we started.
And they feel good. So I'm going to take a real quick second here to get a word from our sponsors in. But after the break, I'm going to tell you about how you can save the memory of the hunt by wearing hearing protection. So Smith & Wesson has a new M&P 15T2 rifle. I've shot the first one. I've shot the second one. The second one's obviously better. Hello. It's got interchangeable back straps, ambi controls, including an ambi charging handle, safety selector, all that good stuff that make the left-handed shooters very happy. They're very excited about this one, obviously. But you can find out more about the M&P 15 rifles at smith-wesson.com. So if you're going over there, there's another gun that you might want to check out, and it's the M&P 12. We've been running this. It runs with mini shells, but that's a new addition to the Smith & Wesson lineup that is a change from anything they've ever done. This is their first entry. It's a bullpup design. Wonderful. And Remington Ammunition. Their new core lock tipped ammo is phenomenal. We just recently went on a Wyoming antelope hunt, Western big game, and you know what? Oh, it did the job. It is the new deadliest mushroom in the woods. And if you're a fan of core locked, man, you can stay with that too, because you know what? It does the job just fine. Silencer Central. This is silence delivered. Silence delivered to your door. I didn't make a mistake there on the read. I swear. Somehow, Brandon and his team over at Silencer Central have figured out how you at home can get a silencer or suppressor, whatever you like to call it. It's delivered right to your door. Now you have to go through the waiting period, but they ship everything to your house. The paperwork, the fingerprints, you do that all from the comforts of your home. I'm walking through the process right now on one of their Banish 30 suppressors, and I cannot wait till that gets to my door. Visit silencercentral.com to find out more. Okay, are you looking for that next hunting rifle? Perhaps you're looking for, wait for it, your first hunting rifle. Okay, for all the youngsters out there, for all the ladies out there, for all the men out there that are looking to get into hunting, you need to start with something that performs. The Benelli Lupo is that gun. we took it on a Western Wyoming antelope hunt for the first time. This is my first time with this gun, and I was absolutely blown away by the ergonomics of this firearm. The smooth bolt, the crisp trigger, everything about this gun screams race car, but it doesn't have the punch. We were shooting it in 270 Winchester, and the recoil, the felt recoil, was absorbed by their, patented stock, which I love. But it's a sub MOA guarantee, so it's going to be accurate, and it's a chassis style rifle that allows for customization right out of the box. Find out more at BenelliUSA.com. All right, we're back with Bill Dickinson of Tetra Hearing, and I kind of hit on it just for a second in the teaser, but here's another one of those I had no clue one led to the other. Is that moderate hearing loss increases the risk of dementia or Alzheimer's by 3 times. That's kind of scary, because you go on all these great hunts, you have all these great times in the field, but now you're telling me with each little bit of hearing loss, I'm losing memories down the road. That's shocking. Talk a little bit about that, because that for me, it kind of hits home, because I'm starting to get up there in age. And I want to remember all my great days in the field,
and have them as long as you can have them, right? Like you want to, man. We just had an 83-year-old in the field or in the office yesterday, getting fit with his son, and he couldn't, and all this 83-year-old was doing was talking about, like, he can't wait for opening day, and he moves down, he goes over to Arkansas and lives the 60 days over in Arkansas. And I'm like, how cool is that? 83, and you're like my 18-year-old kid at home who can't wait for opening day. And,
right. But what's cool about that is that it sounds like he's doing his job in teaching his son and continuing passing on that legacy, and actually like instilling good habits of hearing protection.
Absolutely. And, what the data is on that you're 3 times more likely, if you have a moderate hearing loss, you have a 3 times more likelihood to have Alzheimer's and dementia after age 60 with a moderate hearing loss, if that hearing loss occurs between 35 and 55. Which is most duck hunters, right? Most waterfall hunters. And man, all it is and this is really what is kind of change. It's the North Compass for this company, is about like allowing people. We're going to protect the ear, but we're really protecting the brain, and it allows them to do what they want to do as long as they can. All this science came out starting about 12 years ago. They were doing, before we had, bad words like pandemic, the healthcare research around the globe was looking at the epidemic of Alzheimer's and dementia. And it's because, science and medicine has become better. We're outliving cancer. We're outliving heart attacks. We still lose a lot of people, and there's sad stories and all of that. But in general, we're living longer, which what it's done is it's increased. We keep seeing this increase in Alzheimer and dementia. And so they've been dumping billions of dollars into research. One of the biggest findings is essentially, to recap, there's 2 groups. About 60% of Alzheimer's and dementia, we're kind of screwed. It's genetics. It's what mom and dad gave us, right? It's been handed down. It's in your family. And all of that. But the exciting part of that is that 40% of everyone with Alzheimer's, 40%, it's not genetically based, but yet they still have it. And so what we found, it's what we do to ourselves across our life, right? And so it's how we live our life. We kind of create this higher incidence or propensity of Alzheimer's and dementia. And what they found is there's 9 risk factors. The greatest one of those risk factors that they pinpointed that they could predict Alzheimer's and dementia was your hearing status. If you had hearing loss between 35 and 55, you had a much greater likelihood of being in that Alzheimer's group and dementia group above age 60. And so that's what we're going after is like let's it's everything we just talked about. Let's take away all the reasons to not wear it. Let's educate better. Let's raise our kids better. Let's introduce young hunters, which is what we need to do, right? On the range, it's going awesome. Everyone's buying firearms and going to the range, and people that never thought they'd ever own a firearm are having a ball shooting a 9mm now, right? And competitive clay targets is growing and growing and growing, and we need to do the same thing on the hunting side. Is we need to keep bringing new, fresh blood into that, or you know what happens to things if it's not growing. So
yeah, well, and it's about instilling those good habits, because we preach the 4 rules of gun safety, but maybe we should start adding a couple to that. Is always wear your hearing protection and stuff like that, even when you're out in the field, because I love the slogan, hear the hunt, because that cannot be understated, because that's part of the experience that you deal with. When you're sitting in a duck blind and that sun's just starting to peak, and we've all been there, the ducks come in, there's a few early flights always, and they lighten your spread and you're like, oh my gosh, it's about to hit. You got 30 seconds left. It takes less than that to put these suckers in. Like, it just does, and to do that and to enjoy the experience and to hear birds coming from further away, to hear the beat of the wing coming in and to hear those birds cutting. It's an experience that you want to maintain as long as you can, because when it stops, when you start losing that sense of the hunt, when you start losing that's when it starts, the passion starts to disappear, and we don't want to do that. And it's just, it's a soapbox that I've started getting in on, and now my son has taken over. He's very adamant about hearing protection, which is great to see, because he holds me accountable.
Those kids have a way of doing that, don't they?
Oh yeah, they never forget. They're kind of like their mom. They've got a memory like an elephant. I mean, they just don't let something go, especially when it comes to their safety, because they care just as much about you as you do them. If you know it or not, they want you to hear your grandchildren's voices. And we talked about a little bit before, because higher frequency voices are the first thing to go. And
females and kids, right?
Sometimes that might not be a bad thing.
Well, that's why I think we're getting ready to release an app on some of our future technology, and I've always said part of that app, I'm going to push it out, and we can take a sample. We'll take a digital sample of your wife's voice, and then there will be an open bid for 1 hour, and we can either enhance or decrease that bid or decrease that voice. Whoever bids highest is what we'll program.
Oh my gosh. I mean, an opening bidding process might not be a bad idea. I'd have to fork over some cash for that. But no, it's something that guys, like often think about, and they often just forget. And we're all guilty of that, but man, before you head out, like, that should be priority number 1.
Yep. My, you talk about, and I don't know if I may have shared this story with you. I don't think we've talked about it, but something that really touched my heart big time as we were getting ready to launch this company is my son, who just turned 18 on Sunday, was 16. He was driving out to Bass Pro with his buddy, and they were on the interstate here in Nashville. And they were in the middle of a 6-car pileup. This was literally August before we launched the company in September a couple of years ago. And man, when I got the call and I got out to the crash scene, and it was horrific. And I saw his buddy, Ben's truck. There's one of those things you look at it and you're like, how did anyone survive? Right. Yeah. Thank God nobody was hurt. Their faces were cut up and from the airbag.
Yeah. We'll take that every time.
But man, you think about it, there's 2 things that saved those boys' life that day. It was technology, the airbag deployment, right? And it was behavior change. It was that they both had their seatbelts on. And I remember being his age when I got my driver's license, and my mom and dad used to, ask me to please wear my seatbelt. There was no law. There was no, there was no behavior. And what has evolved is this behavior that, I've got 25, 23, and 18. And those kids don't know what it's like to be in a moving vehicle without being restrained, right? They only know, as do your kids as well, and everyone else. And like we've changed the behavior that it's okay to get in your truck with your buddy, and everyone puts on their seatbelt. Like you're the dummy if you don't do that, right? And that just wasn't how society was 30 years ago, 40 years ago, and honestly, Kevin, that's what Tetra is trying to do. Is we're building the technology and taking away the excuses, and that's why it's so awesome to be working with guys like yourself and all the other awesome partners that we have that are willing to spread the word and kind of carry the torch, because that's how change happens, right?
Right.
The inventor, the dorky doc that designed all of this. Some people listen to, some people won't, but you've earned the platform and the respect of a lot of listeners, and that makes all the difference in behavior change.
It's funny because guys will sit there and they'll go, "Well, my doctor said I should do this," and how often do you really listen to it? But when your doc is sitting there saying, like, "Look, how much longer do you want to enjoy your hunt?" Like, then all of a sudden you start, like, when you're talking to a hunter, that's like saying, like, "Hey, we're coming for your guns." Whoa, pump the brakes. Like, don't come after my hunt. Like, you're doing it to yourself. So it's about enjoying the hunt. And that's what we try to preach here on, Gun Talk Hunt podcast, is that, man, if you're going to really, truly enjoy your hunt, it's physical, it's mental. And a big part of that is your hearing.
Yeah. And we teach, it's not about the numbers, right? When you're young, it's about limit. We all know that. It's about limits. It's about big piles. It's and most of us outgrow that. But it's an evolutionary process. And it's the same, like hearing, it doesn't matter if it's that pheasant flushing, it's the cackle. It doesn't matter if it's the wings ripping above you. It doesn't matter if it's that elk bugle that sends chills down your spine, right? Or the grunt of a whitetail, or, the drumming of a grouse. You fill in the blank, and our ears just connect us to each other. And it certainly connects us to nature. And that's, I've been blessed for, 30, going on 31 years now of restoring the delight of hearing. And man, if I can finish this career about preventing hearing loss, that's full circle for me.
Yeah.
And
100%.
That's what we're about. So,
it's a real quick, funny story here. And so I went on an extended trip. I was gone for a little over a week, and I was dove hunting in Western Oklahoma for 2 days. And then I transitioned into an elk hunt in Colorado. Wore the Tetra Alpha Shields religiously through the entire process. And I was bow hunting, so you're like, well, you're bow hunting, why are you wearing hearing protection? Well, it's because Tetra isn't just about, protecting your hearing. It's about enjoying and encompassing, bringing nature basically inside your brain. And so I'm sitting there wearing these, and I got a couple of weird looks from my buddy. I'm like, why are you wearing those? I'm like, because I can hear a lot better. Because I can hear footsteps, ahead of us, or I can hear leaves rustling way over there, So I was using it as a detection device, and that's one of the coolest ththings about it. And we heard one faint bugle, and I kid you not, it had to have been probably like 3 ridges over, and he could barely hear it. But it sounded like I know the direction. I know where that elk is at. Like, he's got to be 3 drainages over. And of course that was the only bugle I heard all week, but he was right there. Like, wow. and I knew which direction he was at. And he was like, well, I think like he's in this general. I was like, no, he's right there. But one of the funniest things that happened on this hunt is I could hear a chipmunk way ahead of us. Like, he was alert. Like, and that's a key indicator. Like, there's something in the area, and it was us. But little cues like that, like you need to like stop and understand what you're hearing, because I could hear a chipmunk 300 yards away in his tree alerting me. So that could be a bear, that could be, but there's something up there that I need to be aware of. Yeah. So anyway, this chipmunk's going off. And I'm like, man, we're walking right towards that thing. He's not shutting up. And I'm walking up, and then all of a sudden we get to where he is, and he's still chattering away. And all of a sudden, I kid you not, it was like he had stockpiled all his acorns from the past 5 seasons, and he starts throwing them at us. Like he is literally raining down acorns on us to get us out. I've never experienced anything like that. Like, it was crazy.
Well, that's like a cartoon, man.
Oh yeah, it was 100% a cartoon. Like he was like yelling at us, like, "Hey, get out of my area!" And he was like, "Well, now you're in range." Like he switched to his rockets, I guess. So,
well, how did the hunt end? What about?
Oh no, I mean, I blanked. I mean, I was very early in the season. Really thick vegetation. 95 degrees on the hunt. So, when it gets like that, the elk tend to shut up. They don't talk. Yeah. They're all about, keeping a low profile. Things were starting to ramp up, I think, like 2 weeks after I was there, of course. Apparently now they're screaming their heads off and all that good stuff. But I found a good use for hearing protection when I'm not shooting a gun. And I think it's about being in that moment, being in the hunt, because I use auditory cues, to detect game. And honestly, like some of them, if I took the hearing protection out, I just couldn't. You just can't hear. I mean, it's a snap of a twig.
Particularly in early season, and man, I'm telling you, the archery, the deer and the elk hunters, early season, leaves are up, it's full foliage, and it's like hand to hand combat. Sometimes with these, you got a very small window of shooting. If you're in the woods, it's different if you're over a field, but it's all about, it helps you be a better hunter the more you get your head in the game, and your ears bring your head in the game. And this idea that, your eyes give you 135 degrees of information. That's the most that you can get. After that, you have to move your head. And you know what happens if you move your head in the woods, or if you're moving your body. And the idea is that your brain gets information from 360 degrees with your ears. And, and for guys that are, having trouble hearing, been a little bit hard, anything going on behind them, if you don't hear it, you don't know what's there. And you don't get yourself in position. You don't get your bow out of the, hanging in the tree, and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And,
it all compounds into because what you're going to remember about those hunts are the blown opportunities. Like because I've done it before. I've been in a stand and go, okay, that's got to be a squirrel. Like that's a 400-pound squirrel jumping around behind me. And then all of a sudden you're like, curiosity gets the best of you, and you have to turn. And as soon as you do that, all you see is 2 eyes looking right up at you, and you're busted. And now you can't move. Whereas, if you're wearing, let's take that alpha shields, it allows those auditory cues to be picked up very early, and you can hear that very distinct cadence of a buck walking through, your set down a secondary trail. And that gives you time to, okay, I've got my bow in hand. I've nocked an arrow. I'm already ready. And now it's just a waiting game. And to me, that makes all the difference in the world. I mean, you're measuring your success by steps.
And look what we do in preparation for big hunts like that. I mean, you were talking about, especially if you're doing like out west and stuff like that, right? You're spending lots of money. It's a time, it's commitment. You're waiting in line to get your points, to get the lottery. I mean, it's equipment, it's travel, it's, and it doesn't matter if you're the waterfall hunter, it's the lease, you're training your dogs, you're buying new boats, you're like, you plan everything. and then you leave like your best asset to circumstance or happenstance. And it just like again, the more you talk about it, it seems like, why would anyone do that?
Yeah.
But that's half the problem. And that's why I love the work that you're doing. I love the passion that you have, because the problem is that as collectively as a group over the last 20 or 30 years, we haven't been talking about it. Right.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter if it's the healthcare perspective of really what we're trying to do is your inner ear is just a filter to your brain, but it's right. The best. Your brain is most stimulated by your two ears. Your eyes cannot stimulate nearly as fast. And your ears never stop. Right. I've got a 13-year-old short hair that's on a very fast descent right now.
Oh, I hate to hear that.
And just rips your guts out. But and about 3 times a week, somewhere between, this dog has never gotten up. You had to like kick him out of his crate at 9 a.m. He was not an early riser. And about 3 times a week now, he's waking us up between 3:30 and 4:30 to go out. Never done it in his whole life. And but what do you hear? It doesn't matter if it's a baby crying down the hall. It doesn't matter if it's a window being broken or a storm outside or your short hair pawing at his crate. Your ears wake your brain up. And so your ears are always going 24/7. And man, it's what makes life. And and that's what we're trying to do, is allow the hunter to still go do their thing. And we haven't even talked about some of the cool stuff that we're doing on the range side. I got to come back and talk to you.
Oh yeah, we'll definitely be having you back. We know that, but Bill, Tetra Hearing, thank you for joining us on this gun talk hunt, and tell them where they need to go to figure out all this stuff.
Yeah. tetrahearing.com or tetrahunt.com. Either will take us directly to our website. The numbers on there, you call, and either Bill or Matt or William is going to answer the phone. You talk directly to us. You can chat, you can email, you can get us on Facebook or on Instagram. We get somewhere between 20 and 50 calls and chats and emails a day, and we love every one of them. So if you got questions, you can do it by yourself. You can go online and do a hearing test. And if you want some advice on that, help us. You can do it by yourself, or we can be your concierge and help you pick out exactly what you want. So it's super easy. You guys are super helpful. The customer service over there is outstanding. It's absolutely phenomenal, because those guys, like, they have your hearing, like your best interest of your hearing and your future hunts at heart. Yep. But Bill, thank you so much for joining us. Cool. Thank you for the opportunity. Keep it going, man. Keep it going. Hey, keep that hearing safe. Like, get you a set of these, get you a set of Alpha Shields, and hear the hunt. You guys, I got mine right here. So you got them right there. We're Alpha Shield buddies here. So, but you guys enjoy the hunt, hear the hunt, and always keep those muzzles pointed in a safe direction, and just keep hunting, man.